It reminds me of a story. So Archbishop Tutu was sitting there, the Dalai Lama was sitting here, and they were in a hotel lobby. And they were laughing and joking with each other like we've just been doing. They had kept the press out. And so finally they opened the door and they let the press in. And Desmond Tutu leans over to the Dalai Lama. He says, "Now, act like a holy man." True story.
Yeah.
They used to tease each other a lot.
Yeah. I've seen some videos of them and they're wild laughter.
Yeah, they get away with a lot.
Yeah.
I know. And the Dalai Lama said, "Oh yeah, Desmond Tutu kept telling me I wasn't going to go to heaven because I wasn't a Christian."
Welcome, Messen, to this conversation.
Thank you.
I see this conversation as just an extension of all the conversation that we have been having over the decade, and which has been so insightful for us, for me personally. So we will just chat and we'll see where we are led and where we lead each other. So I want to introduce Sadanand ji for everybody who's seeing. I feel one of the greatest gifts of being with him has been the gift of listening and curiosity. It almost doesn't feel like that there's a gap of 5 decades between us. And it's been so gracious and generous of you to give us the space to ask us questions, to allow us to really name what we feel. In fact, name what we don't know what we feel. And that has, I feel, in my life in the last decade with you, has really drawn forth a deeper part of me, a deeper seeking in me. And it's a joy today, I mean, to be able to continue to co-create with you, continue to learn from you. And in our journey with Youth Alliance and whatever we have done in other ways in Samvaads, I see your role as a very, very important and a true elder. Like you once said that, it's unfair for all those young people who don't have the care and listening of elders. So you've been the one who's really played a role of listening and encouragement and appreciation for many of us, including me and many of us at Youth Alliance. So welcome and thank you so much for saying yes to recording this. And also I'd like to mention that Essen has been a founder of the Mount Madonna Center, which started in 1978. He's been a practitioner and a teacher of Ashtanga Yoga for almost since then, I believe, and has been a student of Baba Haridas. I feel in my seeing his focus on the human being and what does it mean to educate the human being, the human heart, to become the people, to become the citizens that the world needs today, has been deeply impressionable and deeply forming for many, many people who have studied in Mount Madonna Center, the school there, many people like us in India. So I really feel you have, through all your conversations and all your work with us, you have really allowed us to become human again, or to feel our humanness from time to time. So yeah, I'd like to begin with just tell us what's up. How has your day been? What have you been up to today?
Well, for the Indian audience, I have been a safaiwala today. I have been cleaning up. We've added a large building for our school that we have here. We have an orphanage and a school. And we're getting ready for the grand opening of a 30,000 square foot addition to the school.
Wow.
And I got here 3 days ago, and the opening is on the 9th. So I have been, let us say, euphemistically encouraging people to clean up and to finish things.
Yeah.
The building is basically done, and the outside area is getting done. So just been working, doing what I love to do, which is I like work. and I
Yeah.
like to work with my hands.
Yeah.
I've done that all my life. And I love working with the workers, because I see them as that's what built the building. They're the ones that did the work. So
Yeah.
I have great respect for the people who do the work on the ground.
Yeah.
And we've had wonderful management and so on, but it's been over a 2-year journey to get this built.
Yeah.
So that was what I was doing today. Yeah.
Yeah. We've been totally mind blown with how much physical work you're able to do, and totally inspiring. I feel inspired all the time to be able to pick up different tools and get hands on with things. So, yeah.
That's where the fun is.
Yeah. And I remember you would call yourself a builder at Mount Madonna as well. Yeah, and tell us what's been alive for you. What have you been thinking? We're going to have Samvaad from tomorrow, and what's been up with you? What's been going on in the beautiful mind of yours?
Wow, that's a really big question. A lot goes on in here. I don't know how much of it makes sense, but a lot goes on. What's most alive for me is a good question. Well, I think the theme of the Samvaad, what's really alive for me is how we as human beings live in story. And the story is always a metaphor. So a metaphor is actually transferring the attributes of one thing to another thing that is a different thing. So metaphorically speaking, I could say, you're such a clown, right? So there's the metaphor. It's not saying you actually are a clown and have a red nose and makeup and all the things that clowns do. But it's a way of identifying you metaphorically. And I think human beings identify themselves and are identified metaphorically. And the problem with that is that the story that accrues to us, when we get labeled, we as human beings disappear. Because we disappear behind the label. So if I said to you, well, you're a clown, that's not all you are.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, I was reading a very thin book called The Cowboy Handbook, of all things. And what I saw, and it really struck me, it said, when you give the measure of a human being, give the whole measure. In other words, we're all positive, negative, indifferent, authentic, inauthentic, compassionate, not compassionate. So it's really the predominance of the way we are in the world that ultimately accrues to how we get identified. So we identify with the stories and the labels that are put on us. We also do that to ourselves. And so the theme of the Samvaad is a different story.
Yeah.
And the questions for me in that are, for example, what's the story that you tell about yourself most often? And is that open to examination?
Yeah.
Is it possible that you could change your story? And the thing about the neural patterns in the mind are that they can change. But often it's not so easy, especially if the patterns are very robust. So what's alive for me right now is looking at my own story, engaging with others to think about what kind of transformation I want. What do I want to conserve in my living in the world? Because everything else changes around what we choose to conserve in our living.
Yeah.
And the language of that is a little awkward perhaps, but if I conserve love, the world will organize around that, because what I give, I get, What people see, they respond to.
Yeah.
Not everybody the same, but if I conserve anger, if I conserve industry, hard work, honesty, the world will respond. And so we actually create the world we live in the process of living by what we conserve in our living.
Wow.
So that's alive for me. And of course, everything connects to everything else. So
Yeah.
I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You said something, I've heard you say that before as well, that we live in our stories.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, Lord. That's the deep end of the pool. And I think one of the things that really interests me is what I euphemistically call the human operating system. So how do we as human beings operate in the world? What does it mean to be human?
Yeah.
If I were teaching today, I taught for a lot of years at the high school level, but if I were teaching today, I think that was what I would focus on, is how do we actually operate? Because I think a lot of the time we don't understand how a human being operates. So historically, I think as human beings developed over time, they had to make a lot of fast decisions about surviving. If you have a saber-toothed tiger coming for you, or there's some immediate danger, you have to have a quick response. And so what we do is we take partial information, and from that we create a whole picture.
Yeah.
And then we respond to that. Okay, so that's useful at certain points. But the other thing that we do is once we've made that picture, the process is called abduction. So we take small things and make guesses about whole.
Yeah.
We have the experience. We have a description of the experience. And from that, we create an explanation.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how our epistemology, that's how we know what we know.
Yeah.
That's epistemology.
Yeah.
There's another word for epistemology called gnoseology, which nobody knows, I didn't know, but actually is a more accurate word for what we're talking about, because it has to deal with the psychological and the social and everything else. So we know what we know through a process of abduction, which is having an experience and then creating a narrative, a story about that experience, an explanation. So the description is one thing. And one thing that we know from description is that whatever you see, we can never give a full description. There's always going to be gaps in that description. But nonetheless, we create an explanation, and the explanation is based on our previous experience.
Yeah.
And so we're bringing our past along with us.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm a little child and a dog barks and scares me and bites me. Then I might take that small experience, I mean, it's a big experience for a child being bitten, but I mean that one experience, and then dogs bite. That's a dog, therefore it bites.
Yeah.
Right? That's called a syllogism. Because I'm thinking, the dog bit me, it's a dog, all dogs bite. Well, it's a false syllogism.
Yeah.
And so, but when we have those experiences and we're unable to filter those experiences, then we bring that right along with us, and there's an emotional response to something that feels like what happened before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where we get stuck in story. And I think I've mentioned on a number of occasions that Thomas Merton, who was a monk, a Christian monk, thought that if he could know his authentic self, he would know God. But in order to do that, he had to rid himself of all the false narratives.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this brings us back to story. So the question is, I have narratives that I tell about myself. And I actually was doing this exercise this morning thinking, okay, what is a narrative that I tell people about myself that might even not be true, or I'm ready to change that narrative,
Yeah.
or change my relationship to that narrative, even if it's true. Because I find myself responding and reacting in the present according to the past.
Based on that. Yeah.
So
Got it.
I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where I went.
Yes, yes. No, it opened several threads for me. But what I hear you say, and as what I'm receiving from that, is that we have had experiences in the past, and those experiences create a certain arisal of certain feelings in us, and
Yeah.
we make a certain explanation about them.
Yeah.
And often, as we live in the present, we might have a similar looking experiences, but because we are reliving the past with us and not fully perhaps present, by a process of abduction, we keep filling the gaps, to say that, as if the past is repeating itself.
Yeah.
And thereby those stories keep repeating or keep getting more and more fixed. And and I remember Thomas Merton would also say, I think he used the word non-thought of received ideas. So if the ideas and stories are received from outside about ourselves, about the world, and we are not able to examine it and really experience as the experiences arising in the here and now, it is even further. I mean, it's just living under a certain label, under the burden of a certain story.
So you just jumped levels on me, okay?
Sorry.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because that's a connected level. So I was talking about the personal of where I abduce or I create abduction around my experience. So that's self-acculturation.
Yeah.
But we also live in culture.
Yeah.
And so culture's the water that we swim in. You know, but we don't even know it's water.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of unreflected information that is included in the family culture, in our national cultures, in religious culture, you know. And so we don't really examine or question that because it's just the way it always was. So we learn it at an age where we have no defense against how we're being acculturated.
Yeah.
And so that also travels with us. So we have personal culture that travels with us. We have family culture. We have dominant narratives within our culture.
Yeah.
And as I move back and forth between the U.S. and India, you can really see both similarities and differences as to how people are acculturated. And at some level, reflection is required both for personal and general culture to try to figure out, is this actually useful to me personally? Is it useful to my relationships that I have with other people? And is it useful to my relationship with nature? Because nature is the thing that we all depend on.
Yeah.
And are we acting in concert with something that will help the human being sustain itself? And so those three relationships with self, with other, and with nature are critical to survival.
Yes.
But we get unconscious because the narratives come in, and especially today, we're so susceptible to the intensity of what's coming at all of us as individuals, the speed with which we're required to work, the efficiency that people want, and obedience to dominant narratives, which may not be helpful, ultimately. I don't know the answer to any of it, but I really feel that it's useful to engage in some level of self-reflection, to think about what actually is useful. Okay, now we can jump over to another deep end of the pool. So Humberto Maturana, who is a cultural biologist, said in a sutra-like way the fundamental operation of an observer is making distinctions. So we as human beings, as observers, we make distinctions. And distinctions are determined by difference. In other words, if we're experiencing something and it's the same repetitive thing over and over again, there's nothing new in that. There's no news. But if something changes, then there's news. And so the second sutra from him would be that everything lives within a medium. All biological things live within a medium. And one of the corollaries to that is we have to live in congruence with our medium or perish. If we lose congruence with our medium,
will not survive.
We have certain things. We won't survive. But the other interesting thing that he says is that the medium can perturb us, but it can't specify our response. We actually choose consciously or unconsciously our response. So that goes back to the narratives that we hold, the cultural narratives that we're grown up in, the stories that we've created, where we want to shift the blame somewhere else or feel like something caused us to act in a certain way. And actually, we have more freedom than that. But if we're not conscious, then we just react. And that happens to me all the time. It's a little scary once you realize it's like, oh my God, there I go again. You know, that wasn't something that I planned, expected, or wanted, but I just went into reaction. So that's where you have to put the shovel and dig. Because what that is a narrative that has come along with you from some trauma or some experience or some repeated experiences or some acculturation.
So what I'm hearing you say is that the process of self-reflection and the practice of self-reflection allow us to examine the stories about ourselves, about that we have received from our culture, and it creates a sort of a gap or a space between a certain perturbance coming from the medium, from the environment, and us reacting to that. There is a space that arises which allows us to become more choiceful in what we want to respond.
I call it subjective distance.
Beautiful.
Because again, there is no independent objective reality.
Oh, that's a big statement.
Whoops. Because of the process of perception, this is a map. Out there is a territory. The map is not the territory. It's an interpretation of the territory for all the things that we've just talked about. Acculturation, abduction, and so on. And so we can never give a complete description of anything. There's always gaps. So there's an interpretation that goes between the description and the explanation. The explanation doesn't add anything to the description, but it's how we choose to explain our life or what happened. And that's highly subjective. And so as we see the world and experience the world, it gets interpreted because it's being reflected in the mind according to how the neural patterns are set up to reflect it. And everybody's different. And the studies are many in terms of 5 people witnessing an accident and each of them giving a description, and it's all different. So we live in a multiverse. And everybody has their own point of view. Now, whose point of view is legitimate? And with that, we create all kinds of fights. And stress and tension and so on. So
are you saying that the practice of reflection allows us to confront our subjectivity, and in there lies our freedom to choose, and that allows us to not be prisoners of the stories that we tell about ourselves from the past or the stories that we've received from outside?
Let me say that it can, but it takes work.
Yeah, yeah,
The answers are simple. They're just not easy.
yeah, yeah,
So what does it mean to live a reflective life? You know, I think at some point we have to be conscious about what we want to choose in our manner of living for our own well-being and the well-being of the people around us and the well-being of nature.
yeah,
But to change those patterns, right? In yoga doctrine or yoga theory, samskara, and samskaras are not easy to change. Patterns are robust. Neural patterns can be very robust. And even if they're maladaptive, not useful, they're hard to change.
yeah,
So if I think about, you know, what would I like to change about myself? I have to constantly remember to practice. So practice is something about repetitive action towards a goal. It's called praxis, Praxis. And it's an interesting word. I love language and I love words, and I'll look up the etymology of the words because I'm really curious, where did this come from? What does it mean, you know? And the praxis of living, as it evolved as a word, came to mean over time through some very interesting channels, a repeated effort with a specific end in mind. So it's a discipline, a practice aimed at something. And so if you look in spiritual doctrine, again, almost any aim is important. You know, in Buddhism, aim, kunlong, I think it's called. Because we can't ever really know the effects of our actions. So the main thing is, what is our aim? What are we trying to accomplish? But this process of remembering, you know, we're really remembering, putting ourselves back together in the way we want to be together. So there's a story, I guess I can tell it now. I was going to tell it at the Samvaad, but nobody will know. But it's a story that a friend of mine, a wonderful anthropologist, cultural anthropologist, Angela Sarian, told about a little boy whose father was a very busy man, a very important man. And the father was in the study trying to solve all the problems of the world. And very intense practice. And the little boy was missing his father, so he knocked on the door. He said, "Papa, Papa, let me in." So the father finally, he was persistent, opened the door and he said, "Papa, what are you doing?" And he's saying, "Well, I'm trying to solve the problems of the world." And the little boy says, "Oh, can I help?" And the papa going, "Okay, I need to get him out of here." And so he had a map of the world. And he took the map and he tore it into little pieces and he put it in a basket. And he said, "Yes, you can help me." He said, "If you can put the map of the world back together, that will be a big help." So the little boy is very excited, runs out, takes the basket. He's gone for a little while. And way too soon, bam, 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 "Papa, Papa, can I come in?" And the father said, "Well, did you put the world back together?" He says, "Yes, have it all back together." So he brings in this map of the world, and it's all scotch taped back together, and it is accurate. Got all the pieces in the right place. And he said, "How did you do that?" And the little boy said, "Oh, it was easy. There was a picture of a person on the back, and when I put the person back together, the world was back together."
Wow.
Right? So, and to me, that story's a lot deeper in some ways. You know, when we start to reflect that what's going on in the world right now has to do with the separation of individuals from themselves, the separation with each other, and the separation from nature.
Yeah.
And so the system is not working properly because the self-knowledge is what we need. We need to understand why we do what we do,
Yeah.
where that comes from. And it's not about judgment. It's about being able to make those choices and to have that subjective distance in the moment, to be able to take a beat, pause before we choose, and to be more conscious about our choosing. If we do that, then our relationship with ourselves is more of what we want it to be. There's less guilt, shame, all the things that go with the mistakes that we make. Our relationships with others are better because we treat them better. And our relationship with nature, which we're now in the process of desecrating with a growing population and the desire for all of the things that get marketed to us. So there's something about us needing to put ourselves back together so that we can make better distinctions. The fundamental operation of an observer is making distinctions. Spiritual practice is about making better distinctions. In yoga, buddhi, the discriminative intellect, okay, if we want to move to a higher plane of awareness, then the discriminative intellect has to be purified, sattva buddhi, right? And I won't go in further into that because that's also a big rabbit hole that we could go down. But that reflective practice is really, from my perspective, taking space from all of the inputs and reflecting on the self is an important part of us making better distinctions.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. Wow. It takes a while to receive everything that you said. Yeah. I'm wondering which road to take. Something that I'm curious about, and I'm curious to explore that in Samvaad as well, is the relationship with each other. The second thing that you said, which we're disconnected from. So the space between me and the other. And within that also, like about myself, I have so many stories and explanations to fill the gap and assume about the other.
Yeah.
And for example, I might have an experience with somebody. I might find somebody being strict with me, and I might just fill the gap of a certain teacher who was very angry at me, or a certain parent who was very angry with me, and I say, oh, this person is like that, and I fill the whole gap about them, saying that this is an angry person. So a story and a label gets formed. And so much of our interaction with others, whatever we perceive as others, so it could be another person, it could be another community, it could be another nation, it could be another neighbor, whatever we consider other, is based on stories and assumptions that we fill the space based on some experience, sometimes even not that. So I'm wondering that what is self-reflection to do with becoming kind to others? What is that space feel like? And could you explore the relationship between me and the other a bit? And I want to take some of our favorites, Gregory Bateson and others, and move into that side also. But
we've actually been walking across some of his floor already.
Okay. Yeah. So could you explore that a bit?
Well, there's a disclaimer here.
Yeah.
And that is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay? I have opinions.
Yeah.
I've done research. I have experience.
Yeah.
But I think it's always important to realize that there's always room for more information to fill in the gaps of the description. So I can tell you the description and explanations I have at present. I hope as I go along, those will become more refined.
No, but that I feel is such an important thing, to become aware of our not knowing about the other. That itself is such a place of humility
It is.
and therefore curiosity.
Well, and it's of necessity. So,
Yeah.
from my own experience, what I can say is what I'm trying to learn is something that came from Maturana, where he defined love as allowing for the arising of the legitimacy of other. So if something happens, and actually day before yesterday, something happened, I was quite angry. I was quite upset. I was feeling like I was being demeaned and interrupted for no very good reason. And I didn't react, at least in the moment. And then I reflected. And then I thought, I wonder if that person was doing something that they thought was important to do, and their manner of doing it triggered me.
Yeah, wow.
So that was the reflection. So today I wrote them a note of saying, I'm pretty sure that you were trying to do a good thing. And there were two incidences, and as I put those two incidences together, by the time I got to the second one, I was pretty hot. And but I said, I'm pretty sure you were trying, and this was kind of how I experienced it. And the second time around, that's when I got upset. And again, I'm pretty sure you were trying to do something that you felt was right. But we have a history, and this kind of pushed me back into a point of separation. And I'm not upset anymore, but I watched myself get upset. I thought I'd share that with you. It took, what I noticed today is it took a lot of the temperature out of all of it, both for me and seemingly for the other person. So that reflection process, it's very difficult to stop when you feel like you've been wronged and think about, what is the other person doing?
Yeah.
And in longer term situations I run into in the collective, I find that people that I really disagree with about things are standing up for a principle that means something to them.
Yeah.
So if I can allow them to arise as a legitimate other, even though I may think that the outcomes that they desire are not as desirable as the ones that I have,
Yeah.
it begins to shift.
Yeah.
And we move into the realm of compromise and seeing the humanness of the other person,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that is a practice, that it's taken me a long time to even get that far. I still get upset, but at least I reflect and then start to think about, and it really does change the temperature of the conversations, and then we can begin to get greater clarity on what's important to us and what's important to the other person, and try to find some kind of common ground.
Yeah.
So
what I'm hearing you say is another practice, which is the practice of love.
well, allowing for the arising of the legitimacy of other, because love is not, people think of love as an emotion, but it's also a practice.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of it. Is,
Yeah.
I need to practice it. I'm not really that great with emotions, to be honest with you. In my growing up, one of the stories I tell about myself is there wasn't much room to have emotions as a kid. We had to be obedient. And I have processed that and fine. But recognizing it as a practice allows me to say, okay, I may not be feeling love for you, but I'm going to act in a way that will help us come closer together. I'll try to see the legitimacy of your position even if I don't agree with it. And it really depends on the situation. So I'm not recommending anything to anybody. I'm just telling a story about myself.
Yeah.
But in the relational field, I think we have to find ways to meet other people where they are, and rather than demanding that we be understood, is to try to understand the other person. And then we can create a context in which maybe we can be understood.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a kind of a vulnerability that's required there, you know. And it can't be done harshly, because if you conserve anger, you're going to get anger.
Yeah.
You know, if you conserve at least being reasonable, you might get reasonable response. You may not. You don't win them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that answers the question, but you asked a very broad question, and I gave you a fairly directed answer.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is super important, because in the relationship with the other, the practice of allowing for the legitimacy to arise of the other is actually the practice of love, like you said, and it creates a field of relationship where both can coexist. Both there is a common ground that might arise. There might be a greater wisdom that might arise, or at the minimum, we might disagree, but yet there might be still mutual respect.
Yeah.
And I feel I want to slow down on that a little bit with you. How do I practice to allow for the legitimacy of the other to appear? What is the essential practice? Is it listening with curiosity?
Well, we're now going, one way to practice is what we call small group pedagogy, right? Which is listening with curiosity greater than criticality. Often when we're in conversation, it goes like this, blah, 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 and now it's my turn. We're waiting for the person to stop so we can put in our information. We're also listening to think whether we agree with them or not. And Jimena Davila, who worked with Humberto Maturana, who was a psychologist, said, and Humberto as well, said, if we're listening to see whether we agree with someone or not, we're really only listening to ourselves. So if we can listen with curiosity, and the trick is curiosity greater than criticality, so no judgment, no advice. India is the easiest place in the world to get advice. You've heard me say that.
Yeah.
And I've never once said that in a group setting where I didn't see a lot of people going like, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a legitimate reason for that, but I'm not going to go into the history of India. But if in place of that we can ask questions of clarification, especially when we disagree or we begin to go into judgment or ready to give advice. When we are giving advice, we're co-opting their story, making it our story, and telling them what we would do about it if it was our story.
Yeah.
This is what I would do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like, wait, what just happened? I told my story and now you're telling me your story, what you think you would do, which actually often is not true, just for the record. But we ask questions of clarification, like, why is that important to you? And what it does is, if we're really listening deeply, often we know what to ask. It just kind of arises. And what that does for the person who is sharing vulnerably is take them to the next level down. Why is that important to me? Well, because of, you know, and in terms of our lives, it also takes you down into maybe the realization of a point of abduction.
Yeah.
Of where I decided that this is what the reality was. And then maybe even to question, you know, the basis of, or become more aware of the basis of the platform that I've created, my epistemology, my way of knowing.
Yeah.
And so there's no blame, there's no judgment. You know, the other person isn't wrong. They're not being told what they should do. You know, it's kind of like when we say, well, you need to change. From what to what? I don't even know where I am here. How do I know how to get over here? So the idea of change, I don't think really is the issue. I think it's an issue of choice. The change follows choice. So if my ability to make distinctions improves and I can take the subjective space, right, before I react, I actually can choose.
Yeah.
And I can choose, and nobody gets it right all the time. We all mess up all the time, or a good percentage of the time. It's not about going from where I am now to some kind of imagined perfection. It doesn't exist to begin with. There's no there.
Yeah.
But what it does is it gives you a practice where you can keep coming back to that point of intention. Now, if we're looking at meditation as a tool, I don't know how much time you spend meditating, but I've been attempting to meditate for over 50 years, right? And when you're actually trying to concentrate on an object like Om, right, or whatever that object is, when you really start paying attention, you start to see how quickly your mind goes off in this direction, in this direction. Anything can trigger a thought wave and go out there, right? Practice is like that.
Yeah.
So it's my teacher, Baba Haridas, who founded Mount Madonna and this place here. The answer to a whole lot of questions was regular practice. And that's the way that we deal with samskara or tendencies or reactions or culture, regular practice. And it's a long journey. It's not like you're going to get enlightened and live the rest of your life. You're going to be on that path for your life.
Yeah.
And he always used to say, enlightenment happens in stages. And so every time we overcome some negative tendency or develop some more positive quality, then that encourages us.
Yeah.
That's in the Yoga Sutras.
Wait,
I'm going to give you this one. Shraddha Virya Smriti.
Yeah.
Shraddha, faith on that which is real, right? We start our practice, right? Then we have an experience, a positive experience. Smriti, the memory of that experience. Virya gives us energy to go on practicing.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I forget which sutra. I think it's in book 2, number 17 or something.
Okay.
Somebody check me. Okay.
Yeah. We went further into the process of observing our own process of abduction and clarifying that.
Yeah.
But where we started was the relationship with the other and allowing for the legitimacy of the other to appear.
Yeah.
Through listening with curiosity and asking questions of clarification.
Exactly.
And sometimes what I heard you say is that it might allow the person to see their own process of abduction, and definitely it allows us to see our own process of abduction. And it really, again, it allows us to examine the stories that we're telling about the other. And therefore, already like the feeling or is it?
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
There's no defense against vulnerability. That's the interesting thing. That's why babies grow up. They're so vulnerable that we love them, right? We take care of them.
Yeah.
And I think in a context where we're listening with curiosity greater than criticality, it allows vulnerability. Now, if we create a context for people to be vulnerable, that curiosity becomes a doorway to empathy. From my perspective. That's my experience. And so somebody may be telling something where there's a vulnerability about them, and I'm just kind of sitting there amazed at what they're willing to share and work with. Rather than thinking less of them, I'm going, oh my God, how can I, what can I do? How can I support this? Because in that vulnerability and that feeling, we're no longer separate. their well-being and my well-being become connected somehow.
Yeah, yeah,
So again, it's the disconnection with self and the disconnection with other.
yeah.
So what's the practice? Yeah, listening to another person with curiosity. Not going into judgment, not offering advice, asking questions of clarification. That changes the world faster than anything I know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to go further into that we become, a relationship arises. I mean, I have heard you say, quote Maturana, that when there is honesty and mutual respect, collaboration arises.
Yeah.
And Gregory Bateson also spoke so much about relationship. And I'm remembering a story that his daughter, Mary Catherine, said about watching some family therapy tapes. And she said that she watched it several hundred times. And in that video, there was a dad, a mom, a son who was the identified aggrieved person, and and the therapist.
Yeah.
And she was like, as I was watching through the footage, I was like, within me finding who to blame. Oh, the father is the problem, that, hey, that person is not available. Or the mother is the problem, she's too intimidating.
Yeah.
Oh no, the therapist is the problem, they are not asking the right questions. And it occurred to her, she says that, oh, what a mistake I'm making, that I'm trying to find an individual to blame. But it is the relationship and the structure of relationship that exist in that family, in that system, that is producing the experience of the child and everybody else.
Yeah.
So tell us why it is such an important thing to have a relational lens, or what does, in your reading and experiencing of Gregory's work?
Well, I think there's a simple awareness, and this goes back again to deep Vedic thought and all the way forward to science, modern science.
Yeah.
And the fact is, everything exists in relationship. Everything. Wow. Nothing exists in isolation. In the Gita, it says, the gods give forth the rain, it nourishes the plants and animals, they nourish the humans nourish the gods, It's a closed loop system. In the Vedas, right, the concept of Advaita, and Advaita usually is translated as non-dualism, pure non-dualism, but in Raimundo Panikar's work, he talks about Advaita and saying the interpretation is actually not correct. It is qualified non-dualism, and there's even a term, Vashishta Advaita, right? Which means distinct but not separate. The interconnectedness and the interdependency isn't just a ecological or mythological statement.
Thought, yeah.
The fact is that we are all mutually interdependent and interconnected in some way.
Yeah.
We are distinct from one another, but we're not separate because we're impacting. So we're all part of everybody else's medium, and they're all part of ours, right? And so we're being perturbed in one way or another. Now, if you want to dive into the deeper end of Bateson's pool, he's saying that the ecosystem, which is the interconnected, interdependent whole, the God of ecosystem, or he calls it eco, right, shall not be mocked,
Okay.
right? And that means that what we do in nature is going to get a response. And it's not because God is angry or God's making a decision. It's just the interdependent, interconnected nature of all things. That if we pollute to a certain extent, then what are we going to get? If the water's not there, what are we going to get? If the climate changes, what are we going to get? It's a product of choices that we're making. And so the system won't be mocked. It's going to respond.
Yeah.
So amongst human beings, they're also going to respond to what we're putting out.
Yeah.
And I think it was Niels Bohr who said that human beings are like broadcasting stations, right? That it's the nature of what is being sent, and it's the nature of the receiver that determines the response that you get. And so understanding that what we're putting out as it's received is going to get a response. Same thing, right? So nature has this integrity about it that it's just going to respond to us. Human beings also have a level of integrity that they're just going to respond to us. So this is one of the reasons that we can't usefully, as far as I'm concerned, we can't usefully persuade others to be different than they are, or to demand or to manipulate people to be the way we want them to be. Coercion never really works.
Wow.
You might get obedience, but that's only the face that you showed the person who's trying to manipulate you.
Yeah.
We show one face to our oppressor, and we show another face to our peers.
Yeah.
So the only thing that really works is what they call aesthetic seduction, which is setting an example. You know, being who you are, being your authentic self, and working on the authentic self. So then we're in right relationship. We have to be in right relationship. You know, with the ecosystem, with each other, with ourselves. So the allowing for the arising of the legitimacy of other, that can also be yourself. We also have to be kind to ourselves. We also have to forgive ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so often I see when people are highly reactive, the question is, what's the cost of making a mistake in their world? Because usually we put up all of these defenses to protect the vulnerable part of ourselves that's been wounded in some way. You know? And so when people are particularly expressive with their defense mechanism, then we know that there's fear in there.
Yeah.
You know, and I think in therapy, the first thing that the therapist has to do is establish a relationship where it's safe for the person to be who they are.
Yeah, I've heard you say before that the biggest fear for listening, that becomes a hurdle in listening, is the fear of disappearing.
Yeah. Somebody's saying something I don't want to hear, and I feel like I'm disappearing. So then I push back. And that never leads anywhere. But the curiosity and the questioning and the understanding, because often you hear it, but what we do when we're talking with each other is we're coding. And we're coding based on the samskara, the pattern of our understanding. So I may so many times somebody says something and I find myself getting triggered, and then I'll ask a question of clarification and I'll discover that isn't what they were doing at all. So allowing the benefit of the doubt makes a big difference. That's fairly common things, but it's simple, but the practice is hard.
How do we rediscover the sacred in today's times?
Well, and what is the sacred? The sacred are the verities. They're the things that are inviolable. So nature is one of the things, you know, that can't be mocked. You know, so if we don't get that basic principle, other human beings can't be mocked. They can't be marginalized. You know, we can't label them as a category. You know, because when you do that, you keep pushing back, and then there's a reaction, there's a response. There's a physics of the way we treat each other as human beings. And so this whole thing about being responsible for our choices is critical. Otherwise, we're not free. We're living a narrative, and we're not free. We're living an unquestioned narrative. You know, we've gone to some level of orthodoxy, but nothing's, as far as I can tell, for the most part, always true, other than human beings live and die. You know, what are we to do here? And then how can we turn the ship is the big question. You know, and we can't do it by standing in front, right? So how do we do that? So I think that's the ultimate question. I think we have to start with our choices and developing greater capacities of making distinctions.
Yeah.
Now, I've lived and met and been with people in my life, I've been very lucky, who have a high quality of making distinctions. And as far as I could tell, they did that through practice.
Yeah.
And often meditative practice.
Yeah.
Because something new and new awareness can only come from the random.
Okay.
That's the limitation of AI, which is taking the world by storm. Very useful. But the creative aspect, all they're doing is it's algorithms that measure what's already happened, and they can give you a pretty good line of sight on what might occur. But as far as I can tell, it's not going to produce anything new that isn't the basis of quantifying something that has already happened.
Already. Yeah.
And so when we quiet the mind through practice, it's interesting that new connections get made below at our subconscious level that produce.
New understanding.
Well, and if we talk about how do I become more aware, I think that is a way. It's like you go to sleep at night with a problem and you wake up in the middle of the night and there it is, right? So for me, it's often, oh my God, I need to go apologize to so-and-so because, you know, because my defenses were up, my defenses go down, and then, so that ties into Helmholtz's 4 stages of creative thinking. Saturation, incubation, illumination, verification. So when we have an issue, we saturate our mind with everything that doesn't solve it. Then we forget about it, we're doing something else. Taking a shower, walking the dog, washing the car, whatever. And suddenly a connection gets made at a subconscious level and it pops up as illumination, and then we go out and verify if it's true or not.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's how theoretical physicists solve problems that have never been solved before. So I don't think AI yet is quite there, you know, of being able to have that level of sentience that allows for new things to really, truly new things to arise.
Yeah.
And Bateson says that. Nothing new comes except from the random.
Wow.
I know. What's up with that? Like, it's a story I think I told you about Baba Haridas, who, when we were getting ready to leave for India, he was packing bags to bring to the kids here at the ashram, you know, toys, candy, clothing, everything you could imagine. And we were having tea, and there have been several times when it's just been him and me for some reason. Usually he's had a lot of people around him, but I just happened we were having tea at the house where he stayed, and he pointed to the sliding glass door. He said, and he wrote, didn't talk. He said, "Every time I go out that door, I remember my master's voice." And I confess I was quite fatigued at that time. I was making a video to show the kids where we came from because I thought they might be interested. And so I just said, "What does that mean?" Which is not usually how I addressed him, but it was like unscripted. And he said, "I remember God." Okay. So at that moment, I thought, wow, that's so simple. And then I thought, oh my God, how profound that you could let go of your own thoughts about I, me, mine, what I want, what I'm doing, and so on, and remember the source, whatever I consider that to be. Fine. So that was my beautiful little epiphany I had right in that moment when we fly to India. So we get to India, and we get to the hotel in Delhi first. So in the morning, I went in to see him, and he takes out his chalkboard and he says, "Did you remember?" And I went, "Remember what?" He said, "God." I went, "No." We get up to Hardwar. We're staying at this bhavan in Hardwar before we had the big building here. I walk into his room in the morning and he goes, "Did you remember?" And I went, "No." You know, and he kept asking that every day, not only of me, but that kind of became the running joke that year. He loved repeating jokes. "Did you remember?" Not once when I walked in that room did I ever remember.
Yeah.
You know, and so what it taught me was that process of remembering what you're about and what your aim is critical. And it's not easy. So if we want to transform ourselves in some way, we have to remember what we're about. We have to practice it because the neural pathways have to reorganize themselves because we're pattern. It's pattern. And it's not easy. Samskara, again, the tendencies that we're born with or that we acquire in life are very hard to change. It takes practice. It's like quitting smoking, right? The desire is there, I stop, oh my God, that desire still being there, and it takes a long time to be totally free.
Yeah.
Years, you know. So anything that we do where there's a change of habit or pattern, addiction, same thing, any form of addiction. So, you know, so that is a huge challenge to change, or not even change, but to even become aware, to be able to make the distinction that I'm about to do this and I have a choice. And then the samskara is very powerful, pulls you in. Oh no, you know, here I am again. So I'm not suggesting that this is easy at all. But I am suggesting that this is everybody's work. And that's why we can't try to tell somebody what they should do. It's they have to set up their practice amidst their own confusion. And through the trial and error of practice, you learn if you keep doing it over and over again, new things emerge, new awarenesses will arise. That I can promise in time. But the reason people give up their practice is non-attainment.
Yeah, because we are obsessed with a certain stage or
We want
destination.
we need validation or verification. So practice has to become a practice.
What you say that there is no there, only here.
Well, we always think that we're going to go from here to somewhere, but when we get there, it's here, right?
Yeah.
So there's no there, but there is this, you go on walking. You go on practicing. I remember one time in America at Mount Madonna Center, which is a yoga center, there was this wonderful man from Germany, and we were in the shoe room. And he said to me, "Oh, you know, I've just had a hard week with my practice." And I looked at him and I said, "A hard week? I've had bad decades." So it's kind of, but you go on, and then there are moments where suddenly, out of the random, some new awareness arises. And I asked Babaji, I said a lot of time about Samadhi again. I'm being all over the map here, but I asked him, I said, well, when you go into Samadhi, you're not thinking, so what's going on? And, you know, if you're not thinking, what are you getting? He said, well, when you come out, you bring true knowledge. So I think it's when you go into the random, connections get made, and awareness dawns.
Yeah.
But it's not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you about samadhi. I can't tell you about any of that stuff. But I can't tell you about practice. And there are moments of awareness that is something new. You discover something new. Saturation, incubation, illumination, verification. Okay.
Thank you.
Never give up. Never give up.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a very, very wide field
It was.
of human experience, and all the crutches and beliefs and orthodoxies, and also the stories that support us, and the ethics, and the aim that we need to remember. We touched upon a wide range, and
Well, I will say this. Yours, from my perspective, is the first generation in India that has had the privilege and a platform to stand on, thanks to your parents, to reach to something more. And that's kind of how we were back in the 70s. We had a platform to stand on, and we thought, well, there's something more. And that's why I am so impressed with Youth Alliance, Indian School of Democracy. I am a teacher, that there's a group of young adults who are really working to make India a better place, to try to turn the ship. Whether we succeed or not, I don't know. But for me, it's an honor to work with the people that I get to work with here in India, because I'm learning from them. It's a privilege for me to be with them, you know. I just hope that, like our generation, when we kind of came and now we're the elders, you know, which is like, what? But I just wish for you is that continuity in your life of practice that takes you in a direction of creating a more sustainable future for us human beings, and consequently for so much of the natural life on this world and the environment. That's what I think we're committed to at this point, is continuing the experiment of being humans. You know, and we need to expand that field somehow. You know, so I think we just have to have more fun.
yeah.
If we're having more fun, then maybe other people will come with us. It's the old Tom Sawyer story, you know.
Yeah.
He pretended he was having so much fun painting the fence that he got someone to come along and paint for him. Okay. Ho gaya.
Thank you.
My pleasure.